Today's video. Welcome to the Video Game Fight School channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. So most of you know, whenever I cover Spider-Man, I usually enjoy, or at least I'll say I prefer covering Spider-Man from the perspective of business. Now, this has been a heavily profitable franchise all round in terms of American entertainment. You go back and you look at all of what Spider-Man has pretty much brought to the companies that have harnessed its potential, there has been a large financial benefit. One of the more recent benefactors has been Sony themselves. One of the interesting things is Sony was able to acquire the movie rights to Spider-Man and have been able to score a few more deals as well with the gaming rights, which they didn't acquire, but that belongs to Disney. But still, they've been able to work with Disney, even featuring other heroes in the Marvel universe with Spider-Man, thereby leading to some profits on their own ranks. The big question now that I have is how all of this is actually going to play out with the current gaming market. I made a video just the other day talking about, Microsoft and Sony and this Call of Duty debacle, and me actually saying that Microsoft is more than likely going to use Call of Duty as leverage to start to get some of these, in quote, PlayStation exclusives to their console. Now, the thing is, at this stage, I don't think Sony can keep up this console exclusivity as much. The proof is in the pudding. You've already seen even their most top-notch exclusive Marvel Spider-Man make its way to PC. I remember when I made this video saying that Marvel Spider-Man might one day come to PC, I think I was called a loony. And guess what? It happened to be that Marvel Spider-Man made its way to PC, and I'm not going to forget this. And so before you jump on me and before you say, oh, I'm crazy again, please just give me this one little one. And for those of you who may be wondering about this particular video itself, it has actually been a very popular video among the ranks of my work that I do on here on YouTube. And I'm quite happy about it. And I just want to say I appreciate all of you. Here it is. It's the video where I talk about Marvel Spider-Man, and I actually use a thumbnail that says impossible. Now, I think this was quite interesting because just the thumbnail itself really did have a lot of people asking, what is this, fool bumbling about? But at the end of the day, I'm happy that Marvel eventually brought Spider-Man Sony actually brought Spider-Man to the forefront of this conversation and discussion. Now, here are the challenges that we're going to be seeing. Marvel Spider-Man 2 is supposed to be this exclusive for the PlayStation 5, in terms of the console itself. There have been all these conversations saying, it'd be nice for, the PlayStation 5 to actually get its own exclusive and, Xbox as well. There really haven't been too many new exclusives, and the console generation is going to be approaching its second year. And so Marvel Spider-Man 2 is probably going to be that game that launches into this. Here are the things that we know are more than likely going to be certain. It's more than likely going to be certain that we're going to be getting the Marvel Spider-Man 2 game on PC. So there is no incentive for a lot of PC gamers to go ahead right now and buy that game on the console, unless they have a PS5 and they're huge fans. But if they don't, they're going to sit back and wait. Call it 3, 4, 5 years. It doesn't matter. In fact, they'll probably be playing it at like 8K if Sony decides to go that route. But I don't think Sony is going to go that route because they're going to want to harness as much as they possibly can in this time, because the console generation and all of this console war stuff is finally starting to end. We're no longer talking about which console has the most power. These consoles are very powerful in a sense, not as powerful as a good gaming rig, but they are pretty good at what they do. So this conversation is going to be very different right now. And so the question now is Sony going to make this move? Are they going to bring Spider-Man and make it available to Xbox users? This is a very interesting conversation because there is money to be made on this forefront. There's also leverage for a game like Call of Duty. This is a really, really huge deal, and I don't think a lot of people are covering it from this perspective because this is really going to change gaming for a very long time, depending on what Microsoft and Sony come up with in their conclusions. Because yes, you can chalk it up to whatever it is you want. You can call Microsoft crazy, you can call Sony whiny or whatever it is, but the truth of the matter is a game like Marvel Spider-Man has a lot to offer a broader gaming community, And a game like Marvel Spider-Man being on the Xbox is more than likely going to make Sony a bunch of money. Now, it will make Microsoft a bunch of money. Don't get me wrong. It will keep a lot of people on their Microsoft ecosystems because, you know, they've bought their games on there. They've played their games on there. And many of them are not going to be hesitant to go ahead and try this out. So here's my prediction about all of this. I think this new Spider-Man game is more than likely going to find its way to PlayStation. Now, you may ask as to why. Well, Spider-Man is a much more central character. I think it's actually more likely for a game like this to make its way to Xbox compared to, say, maybe other games like the Uncharted series. Uncharted series are, you know, in a sense, very close to the heart of, you know, Sony themselves, and games like God of War, these are from, you know, studios that Sony has actually acquired, and they're IPs and franchises that are close to Sony in a sense. They're actually trademarks of Sony. The Spider-Man franchise, nonetheless, isn't. You know, it is, but it isn't in a sense, because yes, Marvel has, in a sense, giving Sony the exclusive rights. I think we may start to see another negotiation on the table. See, Sony likes to play hardball sometimes. They'll play hardball a little bit, but eventually they'll give concession if the price is right or if the terms are good. And I've seen this concession actually be given, you know, as much as people may think that this is not going to happen. Well, remember when the conversation first started about having Spider-Man, whom Sony owns the cinematic rights to, feature in a Avengers movie. And at first, there were reports that when the conversation started, both parties walked away from the conversation. There was no agreement at that time, and nobody knew if it was going to happen. But the end game, you know, storyline and everything seemed to have depended a little bit on Spider-Man. I don't know if it did. And so Disney was willing to actually, you know, go to the table again, and eventually an agreement was made in order for that to happen. So businesses like these will play hard to get for the longest time, but once the terms are favorable to them, then we're probably going to see something like that happen. I think Call of Duty is a leverage enough for Microsoft to be able to get Spider-Man come on their platform. And so for those of you who may or may not believe this is possible, you watch and see. You're probably going to be surprised, or I'm probably going to be surprised, because I may be wrong in all of my analyses, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. And I'm certain some of you on the Xbox side would not mind playing a Marvel Spider-Man game on the Xbox. I mean, what's not to love about this character in a sense, and what's not to be looking forward to in terms of, you know, having him be in other, you know, platforms or other, you know, stores where players can have access to him. And it may be a thing where they wait maybe 3 years after the 3-year, you know, cycle or whatever, or 2-year cycle, it comes to the Xbox, so that Microsoft can, you know, in a sense, be respectful to Sony's business practice. But I don't think Sony can expect to, you know, get Call of Duty, stay on their platform perpetually without giving some concession. Now, it may not be Spider-Man, but I think this is what Microsoft might be targeting with that $60-something billion acquisition of Activision. Chess move, your move, Sony. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.